Leclos, and it is Chad Leclos who takes it out. It is another title to Chad Leclos.
Into the final 15 metres. Has he got the energy to hold on to break his time? The time 1:49.04 is the target, and he has set a new world record. Chad Leclos of 1:48.56.
Leclos is bringing it home. Shields in second. Long is favourite. Will it be a world record? Yes, it will. Leclos goes and a new record takes out the men's 100 butterfly.
Leclos and Mitsuda are closing. It's going to be close. Phelps is hanging on. He's a winner. Does he touch? He doesn't. Leclos touched because Phelps got it wrong on the line. It's unbelievable. Mitsuda's third. It's a shocking upset.
Chad, you were born in Durban in 1992. Your first passion, surprisingly, was soccer. And at the age of 5, you had a particular game, and your dad was there, and he said to you, "Get moving, you ballerina." What happened?
Funny enough, I still remember that to this day. That first match that I played, my dad was shouting on the sideline. You know, he always had passion from a very young age, and he was always there in the stands, supporting me in every sport that I did. And to be honest with you, I needed that. If it wasn't for that day, or those years, I would never be who I am today.
You then went with your soccer career, and age 11, you played for the KwaZulu-Natal under-13 team. Centre half, they say you were pretty good. Now, you gave up soccer age 16, you had swimming. Could you not do both sports together? Because people tell me you might have become a very fine soccer player.
Well, that's a big compliment, I think. I played soccer my whole life. My family is a soccer-mad family, so it was natural that I started playing soccer from a young age. But I think for me, after making the KwaZulu-Natal team and seeing what it's all about, my dad thankfully guided me towards swimming, but soccer will always be my first love.
Do you follow soccer? Which is your favourite team?
Well, in Europe, I obviously follow the Premier League big time. So Man United is my team. It's a great club, and I love what it stands for. Coming back at the end, the last 10 minutes of the game.
Van Persie playing in his first Manchester derby, and Van Persie may well have won that Manchester derby.
What an unbelievable finish to the game.
It's going to be close. Phelps is hanging on. He's a winner. Does he touch? He doesn't. Leclos touched because Phelps got it wrong on the line.
Kind of reminds me, well, I wouldn't say of myself, but I strive to be like them.
Chad, you go to primary school, Penzance Primary School, and your swimming coach is a lady called Lindsay Manthey. Now, you're age 8. She has said of you that at that age, you had enormous determination, your work ethic was incredible, and you had mental drive. Now, to me, she's a visionary, and she tells your parents you need to go to a professional coach, and she sends you to Graham Hill, you've never met before.
Yeah, absolutely. Ms. Manthey was my first swimming coach, and thankfully she directed me off to Graham Hill. I think, my first time coming to Seagull Swimming Club, I was very young, very nervous, just a young kid that kind of just trained in the school environment. So I remember coming to training and, swimming at the back of the line, and like I say, very nervous about swimming because, it was just kind of getting thrown into the deep end, excuse the pun. But, I remember those early days were fantastic because it always gave me something to work towards. I was the worst in my team, and I always wanted to be the best.
Chad was this little 10-year-old that trained in the first lane over here, swimming backstroke, up and down, breaststroke. And Bert was always here, of course. And he'd always say, go speak to Terence and Charlene, go and speak to them about how it is to race like a champion. So we used to walk Chad down to the block, put the towel around him, motivate him, and, he was our baby.
I would try every week to slowly close the gap on, the other swimmers in the squad, and, the rest is history.
Now, you've been with him for 15 years. There's something very special about your relationship, your association. What's kept the two of you together for 15 years?
Yeah, well, it's been a great ride so far, and you know, ever since I started with Graham, I always felt that he wanted to be, like I say, he wanted to be the best. He wanted to improve. You know, he wasn't. Every time he went overseas, he would learn a few things from other, you know, techniques or so. And you know, the most important thing about Graham is that he had an eye for, you know, telling how other people were going to swim. You know, it's a weird gift that he has. He can almost tell me how fast other guys are going to, like Michael Phelps, he can almost tell me how fast he's going to swim. And we would always judge off that, you know, to always try and make sure that we can be the best prepared. And, you know, I think with Graham, it was just always, you know, the fiery relationship that we had together. It was, you know, not all great times, but there are obviously going to be difficult times in training and, you know, in travel. So, you know, very, very thankful to Graham.
Have you had areas where you don't agree?
Absolutely.
Is it resolved?
Yeah, no, of course. I mean, you know, it's Graham is like a second dad to me. You know, I see him more than I see my own family. You know, we're at the pool for 4, 5, 6 hours sometimes. You know, when we travel for many months at a time overseas, you know, we always obviously going to disagree on many things, but you know, he's the coach, he's the boss, and yeah, just happy to be a part of it.
When you saw him for the first time in 2000, what made him very special?
Oh, there's a whole lot of things, but the one thing that stood out, you know, he's very competitive. He doesn't like to lose, and I think that's a really good trait to have in the top sportsman.
Nothing more?
Look, as he developed, I'm not talking the early years when he was still a young boy, but as he developed, I mean, he knows how to work. He can really work, and you know, in all sporting events, I would say talent gets you so far, but if you don't do the hard work, you don't see the talent come out.
Does he shy away from training?
Not at all.
What makes him a world champion?
He likes to win. He doesn't like to lose. But he obviously he's very talented, but he likes to do the work. He knows he has to do the work, and he doesn't shy away from it.
Let's go to 2004. The Olympic Games are in Greece. For the first time, you either see Michael Phelps swimming on television or you've heard of him before, I don't know. He wins 6 gold medals. Now, he is obviously the greatest Olympian of all time. 22 medals, 18 gold, 4 silver. What impact did he have on you then?
Michael Phelps in 2004, well, that was the first time I actually saw him race. You know, I was 12 years old. And I remember my dad calling me to the TV and saying, "You got to come look at this American guy." And I remember right from his first race, the 400 IM, when he won and broke the world record, I decided that he's the guy I want to be. I want to be exactly like him. And I watched that whole week, 8 days of racing, and you know, as one of his silver medals was to the South African 4x1 relay team. So in his 22 Olympic medals, you know, 2 of the silvers come from South Africans. So, you know, it was just incredible because, you know, he was only 19 years old at the time, and right from that age, you know, he was such a huge inspiration to me. So, you know, it just kind of, as the years improved, I would watch his times and watch how he swam, and I'd go on YouTube and watch his training, his extramural training activities, and you know, I just wanted to be like him. You know, if I'm very honest, everything was Michael. You know, I would wake up in the morning and I would train, and I would envision myself as being him. You know, and if I even go a little bit ahead of myself to the Olympic final, I was almost thinking that I was him the last 20 meters, because he usually comes over the top of all the athletes in the world. So, you know, it was very, very special, surreal, to be honest with you.
2006, it's your first international victory. You go to Perth, the Western Australian Championship. You win 3 gold, 3 silver, 3 bronze. Tell me what impact that had on your future.
Well, I think, you know, obviously the first time going overseas, it was my first year in high school. You know, traveled with my coach Graham and my dad, and obviously Australia is a beautiful place to be. So, you know, like I say, a kid in the candy store, just looking around, taking pictures, going full Japanese tourist and everything, and you know, racing there against top, you know, junior athletes around the world. You know, it wasn't just Australians; some came from England and around Europe. So it was really tough, and you know, to win my first international gold medal at a young age, I think gave me a lot of confidence to move on and to achieve greater things.
Has he got the energy to hold on to break his time. The time 1:49.04 is the target, and he has set a new world record. Chad le Clos, a 1:48.56.
It's almost like a snowball effect with me because you win once and you get the taste of victory. It's like it was like a drug to me. Winning just became addictive, and I just wanted to keep on winning. Whether it was in training, racing, everything that I did, I just wanted to win, and I think that was the start of it all.
2008, the Beijing Olympics, Michael Phelps gets 8 gold. Now he's the king of the underwater. But more importantly, you win a major championship. The Commonwealth Youth Games, you get 2 gold medals. But when you come back, you change from breaststroke to butterfly. Why?
2008 was an unbelievable year. Obviously, waking up every morning at 4:30 to watch the Beijing Olympics because of the time change. And just watching Michael win 8 golds was the greatest thing I think I've ever seen. Also at the time was when I got the 2 golds, swimming the 200 breaststroke. So back before 2008, I was a breaststroke swimmer. And after the Olympics, watching Michael Phelps dominate the butterfly events, I remember telling my dad after he won the 200 fly, I'm going to be there in a few years' time. Maybe he had a bit of a chuckle, saying I'm a breaststroke swimmer, I should focus on that. And I always wanted to race Michael Phelps. That was my dream, to race Michael. I always said from a young age, I want to race the best. I'd rather lose to the best than beat somebody who's not the best. So right from then, I just wanted to race him. And I started swimming butterfly, also a bit of a groin injury at the same time, so it was kind of destiny or fate, as you could say. I hurt my groin, so I kind of stopped doing breaststroke for about 6-7 weeks, not knowing too much about physio or chiro at that time, so I just kind of rested it and started swimming butterfly. And I started, doing a little bit better in training, and I started realizing that, okay, I can actually maybe qualify for an event, and yeah.
It's coming down now, Chad le Clos, winning his 2nd gold for the night, the 200 butterfly, 1:54.45, a new South African record for Chad le Clos. 2nd place goes to his teammate Wesley Gilchrist.
Well, Chad, 2010 is a defining year for you. You won 3 major tournaments. You go to the Commonwealth Games in Delhi, 2 gold medals. You go to the Olympic Youth Games in Singapore, 1 gold medal. And now your big first major world achievement in Dubai, the short course, the 200 meters butterfly, you win gold.
2010 for me was definitely one of the highlights of my career because it kick-started everything. Winning my first national title in April on my 18th birthday, the 200 butterfly, it was quite crazy because I actually came 2nd in the 400 IM. And at the Commonwealth Games, I won 2 gold medals, which means I was a Commonwealth champion twice before I was a national champion. I had only 1 national title to my name, so it was kind of crazy. I don't think anyone could claim that, having only 1 national title.
This is all about South Africa in goal. Chad le Clos has it all his own way. He's looked across to the left, he's looking across to the right as he's under the water. It's going to be gold number 2 for Chad le Clos. What a swim from the South African. Chad le Clos, well, he can barely contain himself. Look at this. What a showman. What a talent they've got here in South Africa. He doesn't know what he's capable of, this 18-year-old. Great opportunity for England in the form of Michael Rock going with him. Joe Roebuck, his teammate, now in the middle of the pool. Can any of them make an impression? Everyone coming in a line. Look at Chad le Clos from South Africa, the 18-year-old from lane 2. And Chad le Clos beginning now to dominate in this final 50. What a finish from the South African. Michael Rock hanging on from lane 8. But le Clos is going to strike gold for South Africa. A games record, and Michael Rock takes a silver for England. What a swim and delight for Chad le Clos from South Africa. Well, when opportunity knocks, you've got to hammer the door down.
Going on to win the Youth Olympic Games was a huge moment in my career. It was so different for me because you were in an Olympic environment, obviously on a much smaller scale. So I have to say thanks to the Youth Olympics for preparing me for the Olympics 2 years later. Obviously the World Championships, it was 1 week after I finished my last exam in matric, and I remember flying off to Dubai when everyone was at rage and partying it up. and I was just so excited. This is my first world title, world champ, sorry. And it was on the final day of competition. I remember warming up in the same lane as Cesar Cielo, one of the guys that had, obviously won the Olympics in 2008. And I was like, "Hey Graham, I'm warming up in the Olympic champions." And Graham was like, "No. He's warming up in your lane. You go out there and you win that world title."
Now this is the important part now. Wu Pei Shea going well. Wu Peng's come out of the water brilliantly. Here comes Shea. At the far side, Almeida going well. At Brazil, Almeida's coming through on the far side. It's going to be very close. Oh, Almeida was silver. Leclos got it in the end, the South African. What about that finish? What a superb finish. Wow.
Oh, he's really come of age at this meet. I cannot believe Chad Leclos of South Africa has just won the World Championships.
It was, that was a beautiful moment in my career, honestly.
And sadly, during that year, your mother is diagnosed with breast cancer.
Yeah, obviously that was a difficult time for my family and I. My parents never told me about it because it was during the trials of the Commonwealth Games. So it was actually during my birthday, and they found out a couple of days before, and I could always tell something was up, but they wouldn't tell me because they wanted me to obviously focus on the Commonwealth trials. But I was very angry at them at the time. But obviously that whole year was hard for us because just seeing my mom in chemo and lose her hair, and my mom is a very positive person. She never made us worry about her. She would always cover up things when it wasn't, we knew she was hurting. So, my mom was very strong during that time.
And your matric exams, with all this happening, you get 3 A's. History, life orientation, and mathematics. How did you accomplish those marks with all these things happening around you?
I must be honest, I had a lot of help from the teachers at Westfield Boys High. My good friends helped me out. They were very, very smart the year before, and they always would tutor me after school, so I can't take full credit for that. I think I prepared for my final exams like it was in the Olympic final. I used to, it was quite weird, people would laugh at me. I would go to the bathroom and kind of, not psych myself up, but I'd try and be focused, and I wouldn't listen to any music so that I wouldn't have a song stuck in my head. So on the drive to school, my mom would have to put the radio off so I could be focused for that morning. But yeah, I was just very, very happy to be done with school, to be honest. It was like I say, a difficult year, and with all the traveling.
But Chad, take me through one day at school. You got these international events, you got to go to school, you've got matric exams, you got to train. Tell me what would happen. What time would you wake up in the morning?
Training in 2010 would start at 5:15, so I'd have to wake up at about maybe 4:30, 4:40, head to training, maybe have coffee before I train for 2 hours, go to school, come back straight from school at 2:30 to train again for another 2 hours.
That's 4 hours a day?
It's about 4 hours, sometimes 5 hours, depending on the week. And then we would go and do a little bit of exercises for half an hour, 45 minutes. I'd have to come home and try and study. I'd be exhausted, but I would have to try and study for my matrics, and then go to bed at 9:30 and do it again.
You get an invitation to go to the United States, a scholarship there, and you turn it down. Why?
I turned down that scholarship because I believe in not breaking something that's not broken. I have a great thing going with my coach. I have my family here. I have support. Maybe, yes, the facilities in America and everything may be a lot better, but I also wanted to be a homegrown champion. I wanted to show the kids and other people that wanted to achieve that you can do it from South Africa. You don't have to go there and be American to achieve. I believed that we could do it, and yes, we train in the facilities that we have here, but it was, in many ways, it made me stronger. It was, I remember watching the In Conversation with Gary Player, and he said that, the tough times made him stronger. All those times, 1956, it was kind of like that, all over again here. So I would look at Michael Phelps and look at all the guys overseas and the great pools and the great facilities and everything, and I would say, I've got nothing here, but I'm going to beat you.
Let's go to 2011. It's a World Championship. It is in Shanghai. Phelps is first, you fifth. Is this the first time you've ever met him and swam against him?
2011 was the first time I'd ever I actually never met him because obviously he didn't know who I was, and I was obviously very excited because my hero is, well, I'm swimming against him, and we basically went through the first rounds, qualifying 10th or 11th. Obviously top 8 make the final, and the goal was always to make the final and try and get a medal. It would obviously be a long shot, but I was still 19 years old, and when we got through to the semi-finals, I came 6th in the semi-final. So usually if you come 6th, you're not going to obviously make the final. And luckily, only one guy was faster than me, so I came 7th and heading into the final. So I was very happy about that. And coming out of lane 1, I swam that final, and I was just very excited. First huge final. There was 17,000 people in the stands, and Michael Phelps just 2 lanes in lane 3, and I dived in and I touched first at the first 50. That's my claim to fame at that time. And the last 50 meters, I kind of tired out a bit, and I got 5th.
Phelps in front, Matsuda second. Wu is going, but it's going to be Michael Phelps. Michael Phelps has taken the gold medal in the 200 metres butterfly. He's waited a while, but he's won it again. 5 times the champion.
Obviously many learning experiences from that. I went back straight away a couple of days later and trained hard, and I knew that I was only 2.1 seconds behind him. He was a 153.1, and I knew that if I wanted to win the Olympics, I would need a 153.0, 152.9, which got the gold. And there was a lot of things that we changed in that year in terms of training, and everything was just geared towards the Olympics from there.
Was there any verbal contact between you and him in 2011?
No, actually, after the World Champs, we went to the World Cup, and that was a short course event starting in October, November, and early December, and he was in Moscow. And I don't know what happened, but one of his coaches or something, we were stuck in Moscow airport, and he helped us out with one of the trips or the visas, or I don't know how it ended up happening. So, obviously because it was Michael Phelps' mentor or coach, I remember going to the shop and I'm like, Graham, listen, I'm just going to buy a bottle of wine or something just to say thank you, just so I can go speak to him, And I remember at dinner I went to go and give him a bottle of wine, and that was the first time I kind of met him, and he was very nice, and, hey, I'm Michael. I'm like, I know who you are.
Well, 2012 Olympic year. I've been to the Olympic Games in 2000, Sydney. Extraordinary event. I went to the Olympic Village. I think you had the same experience, am I told?
The experience at the Olympics was unbelievable. We arrived at the village, I think a week before we started racing, and I remember Graham telling us there's a lot of things to do, so I want you for the first day to just go and explore everything, just go and get everything, play PlayStation, play pool, challenge the guys, and do your painting of the shirts, and from the next day you must start focusing. So we did that for 2-3 hours, came back, and we knew that it was Olympic time. Just going around the village, and I think seeing other great athletes, Roger Federer, Novak Djokovic, Usain Bolt, of course, just being amongst the best of the best. I think that's what makes you feel like a champion. You're in the cream of the crop, so to speak. The village itself was fantastic. The accommodation, the food hall was incredible. I've never seen something like that in my life. Going in there and just choosing anything that you could have, it was awesome.
Now, July the 31st, the final, the 200 meters butterfly. Tell me, go through the process. You wake up that day, before you get to the swimming arena. Are you anxious? Are you tense? Are you sleeping? Are you training? What goes through your mind?
Well, the same morning I had to swim the heats of the 4x200 freestyle relay. So that was swum at about 12:30, midday. And my final was just before 8 o'clock. So I came in, I swam the heats. We qualified 7th for the final. I actually anchored the morning, so it was a little, not easier, but better that I went at the back. And I quickly cooled down, had an ice bath, quick massage, went back, had an hour nap. And when I woke up for obviously a couple of hours before the race, I remember walking on to Graham's room, and he was Skyping his wife Hayley and kids, and he was just so relaxed, and so was I. It was really, really weird. You know, I was racing the biggest race of my professional life. No tension whatsoever. I mean, it's crazy to say that. You know, we walked in the room and I said hello to Haley and the kids, and we were just casually talking about random things. You know, I came back to the room, watched a little episode of something, and got ready for the final. You know, remember going on the bus, you know, the short 10-minute ride with Graham, and very, very casual, you know.
He was so focused for the Olympics, just talking to him, and quite extraordinary on the day that he won the final. No nerves, no anxiety, no tension.
Yeah, you know, I think himself, obviously knowing that he had done all the work and knew what we were there to do, and knew we could win, and that's one of the reasons why he wasn't nervous. He knew everything that was in place, and we were in a good place, and we were very quietly confident that we were going to win.
It was weird, you know, we just warmed up in the main pool, and you know, we did our 250s pace work, and Graham was like, that was good, and I thought, yeah, that's really good. And I remember just knowing, obviously, it's the Olympic final, but I've never felt like that before. It felt like those movies, those like basketball movies, when, you know, you're going in for that final game and, you know, they shoot for the basket and time freezes. That's honestly how it felt during the race. When I remember just before, I looked down in the water and I saw the reflection of myself, and I'm like, in 2.5 minutes time, my life could be a difference. So that was the last thought that I had before I dived, and I looked down at the pool and I'm like, I could be Olympic champion.
Final of the men's 200 butterfly, defending champion Michael Phelps in lane 6. Can he do it? Can he become the first male to win the same event at the Olympics on 3 occasions? We're about to find out how fast out is he. He's got Leclos inside of him.
Well, you do 3 laps there. What's going through your mind? Water's splashing. He's next to you. Are you watching him? Are you mentally alert to motivate yourself? What goes through your mind?
So when I dived in, I had a really good start. So I actually came out 0.4 ahead of everyone. So I realized I was out a bit quick the first 25. So I slowed down a little bit. You know, the tactic for us was to go in, just touch behind Michael the whole way, half a stroke behind him. And coming into that last turn, we have to build, we called it the squeeze. In training, when I used to train, he says Michael's got the squeeze. He's like a python. The middle 100, he pulls away from everyone. Slowly, slowly, slowly. It's not a drastic, you know, he just slowly squeezes the life out of you. And obviously the last 50, no one's going to catch him.
He looks good. He looks like he's sitting in a good body position, but it's the final stages. 2 more laps to go that he starts to sink.
Well, let's see. He's got a 3/10 lead over Leclos and Stepanovic. Mitsuda's close enough. He's in 4th place. So 100 metres for more glory, or maybe a stunning defeat.
So what we're going to do, we're going to do his game plan. We're going to swim over the top of Michael Phelps. Now, if we had told people before that race, people would say you're crazy, because that doesn't happen. You know, he hadn't lost a major race for 10 years before that Olympic final. So coming down into that 3rd lap, I was 0.6 behind him, and it was a little bit behind. I was actually supposed to be a little bit closer. And I remember, you know, coming into that final turn, and when I touched, I just remember having to say to myself, this is my final turn of my life, you know, the last 50 meters. And when I turned for underwater, I looked over to the left and I saw Phelps, looked over to the right, and I just made sure that I'm ahead of the second guy. And I looked one more time at Michael. And when I came up, the difference was only 0.3. And I knew it's on.
It's a good lead, but it's not a winning lead just yet. Both Leclos and Mitsuda are coming at him. Can Phelps hang on and get a 15th gold medal? Will he be the first male ever to win the same event at the Olympics on 3 occasions? Leclos and Mitsuda are closing. It's going to be close. Phelps is hanging on. He's a winner. Does he touch? He doesn't. Leclos touched because Phelps got it wrong on the line.
Coming down the final stretch, I remember talking to myself, like I say in the movie, you know, it just went slowly. I was like, you're catching Michael Phelps. This is not happening. No, you're not catching him. Okay, no, you're catching him. You're catching him. No, you're not. And there was 10 meters left, and I remember looking over to him just before, and I was literally neck and neck with him. And obviously the last 7 or 8 meters, putting my head down, not knowing if I got the touch. To be honest with you, I thought I got second, short second, and, well, you know, you guys saw the rest.
Stunning race, an even more stunning result. The last 10 metres out there is an iconic moment in Olympic history.
I think he's still thinking it's a dream.
So this 20-year-old from South Africa Well, he set the African record on his way to the final.
His parents are beside themselves, as you would be, seeing your baby do this.
And I think his tears of joy about to come as well. Took a second and a half off the African record that he'd set in the semi-final.
How did he take it? I mean, he is a world champion. Like you said, he probably hasn't lost a major race in 10 years. How did he take it?
Well, after the race, obviously he was very angry.
Angry?
Stunned is the word, angry, stunned. He didn't say much. I remember coming down on the lane rope and we saw each other and he obviously shook my hand, but he wasn't happy because after the race, we saw him with his coach and he threw his cap and he wasn't very, he was like, I can't believe this happened, But then on the podium, he was great. He was humble in defeat. He was a lot better than he was obviously minutes after the race. In fairness to him, I wouldn't have expected anything less from him. I would also be angry if I lost a major race in 10 years to some young kid that is unknown.
Tell me about the 100-meter final.
So the 100-meter butterfly final was 3 days later, and I had the 200 IM heats the next morning. So obviously not having much sleep that night, literally up all night, shocked, sleeping with my medal. Words can't describe how I felt those couple of days after the gold, and going into the heats, I think scraping through on 12th. We swam the semis that night. I made the semi, I came 7th for the semi-final, and then the big call came where Graham said to me, listen, Chad, I think we should scratch the final because the 100 butterfly final is the following night. And realistically, we don't have a chance in the medley, because of obviously the injuries that we had over the years in the breaststroke. So at the time, I didn't want to do that because, I always want to race. And, Graham and I made the decision not to swim. And there was a lot of stick from the media and from, to be honest, the Olympic Committee and South Africa saying you can't do this because also at that time it would have been the most decorated final of all time because there would have been 6 Olympic champions in that race, including myself. So, when I scratched, they weren't really happy about it. But bearing in mind the 100 final the next day, we came into that race seated second. Michael Phelps was obviously the clear favourite for that. And, to be honest with you, I look back on that race and I actually wish that I could do it again because, I'm not a guy that's going to go back on my word and say I could have done something different. But, when I came into that race, there's no regrets, there's no excuses. I'm the kind of guy that doesn't make excuses. If I lose, I lose. You're Olympic champion, there's no but to Olympic champion. But when I turned at the 50, I was 3 kicks less. In the final, there's so much. I've got to count my kicks, and I came up on the 12-meter mark when I should have come on 15.
Leclos was 8th at the turn. There's a lot to do for the champ, a whole lot to do. Deibler leads Cavic. Phelps, I don't know. Leclos coming home hard. Michael, I don't know. He's coming with a run with Deibler. It's going to be close as Deibler and Cavic and Leclos. He's coming hard, Phelps. He's still a chance. He's a real big chance. Can he do it again? He hits it, and he does. Remarkable, stunning.
Well, I can't say I could have won the race, but if I could, like I say, if I could have done that race all over again, I would have.
Being able to get to know Chad and watch him compete over the last year has been something that has been amazing for me. Being able to, and now, after him telling me, the things that he watched me do in 2004 and him saying he wanted to do that, I think is very special. And to be able to be a part of that and to see somebody put his mind to something and have the confidence to step up and do what he is trained to do. He did that in the Olympic final, and he had prepared himself more than I had, and he got his hand on the wall first. And he's somebody that's a very tough competitor, a very hard worker, and I am very excited to see what happens in his career over the next 4 years, 8 years, however long he keeps going. He's just somebody who's been a really, it's been a pleasure for me to be able to get to know him, and I want to go down there and cage dive with the great whites, and we've been talking about that all week, and sort of we've been sort of trash talking back and forth about playing FIFA on video on he plays PlayStation and I'm an Xbox guy, so we've been going back and forth and having a little fun, and it's been nothing but a great week.
Right, I watched you train here this morning. I've spoken to your coach. He says in a normal week you do about 60 kilometres. In a serious week, 120 kilometres. Day in, day out. I mean, what goes through your mind? How do you survive training like this on your own underwater?
For me, when I'm training, the things that I think about are my competitors. Every year that we have a major competition, the Commonwealth Games, the Olympics, the World Champs, we always think about the competitors that we're racing. So, yeah, obviously it can get really lonely, but in the back of your mind, you know that they're working maybe as hard as you. So you have to be always one step ahead. So, especially when I'm doing those hard butterfly sets, those last 10 meters are all about Michael Phelps, Laszlo Shea, Takeshi Matsuda, all the guys that I'm racing.
You have a very special relationship with your dad.
Oh, my dad. I could sit here all day talking about my dad. My father is the greatest dad ever. I'm not just saying that because of the cameras or for any media thing. My dad is a genuine person who has always been there from the start with me. He's the reason that I am the person I am today. He taught me 90% of the lessons that I learned today. He taught me never to give up. He taught me never to let anyone tell you that you can't do something. He always is constantly listening to other people and constantly learning. I think that's the difference between my dad and other dads, whereas people would come in and they would be stubborn to themselves. They would say, oh, no, I know best for my son, And, my father, I'm sure he'll tell you the same story, that many parents make the mistake of if they were rugby players, their son must play rugby. Whereas my father was a football player and he told me to choose swimming over soccer because he knew that I had a future in swimming. Whereas most dads would have said, my boy, you're playing soccer, because I did. So, as a father, he's been incredible. He's not just for myself, but for my other brothers and sister. He's always been there for them as well. And, he keeps the family together. He's, as you see him on the TV, supporting me in the races is how he is at home on a Sunday afternoon with the bra, how he is when he supports other, teams. He's incredible.
By meeting you and your son a few times over the last 18 months, there's a special relationship. It's not father and son. It's like you're the best mates, best of friends. Tell me about it.
Yeah, we are the best of friends, really. We were once one in Woolworths and a guy walked up to me and we were playing the Fool at the Owl. And he said, look, I've watched a few programs of you guys and you keep saying you're good friends. And I said, is it really you're good friends or just the camera? I said, it's worse than that. It's actually, we are the best of friends. I know exactly what he does. And he knows he can tell me whatever he likes to tell me. And I'll be in his box, I'll be in his corner.
And you're his best buddy?
I'm his punch bag. Whenever the coach gives him a hard time or he has a bad race or whatever, he takes out on me. Anything. So I accept that.
And when he gets into the pool for a big race, what happens to your pulse rate?
Everything goes. Everything. My brain, my mind, everything goes. Because I'm over the top. And I've been like it all my life, It's not the cameras or anything. It's just, I've been like it all my life.
When he won the Olympic final, the world saw you. Incredible.
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable. I've never been so happy in my life. And it's something indescribable. I mean, what happened tonight is like I died with to heaven, and if whatever happens in my life down, it's plain sailing. It's plain sailing.
And there is your boy down there. I think he could hardly believe it. Not just that he's won the gold medal, but that he's beaten Michael Phelps.
Wow, this is unbelievable, isn't it? And he's beautiful. Look at this. What a beautiful boy. Look at him. Sorry. Oh my God.
It took about 5 hours, that race. The finish took about 5 hours. There was a woman next to me. She was from Canada, and I said to her, there was an American this side, my wife here, myself. And there was a Canadian woman, and I said to her, excuse me, man, my son is swimming. I'm a bit over the top. Phelps is in the race. Oh, well, Phelps will win it. And this lady said to me, I said, anyway, cut the long story short. When he won the race, I couldn't, my neck is a little bit stiff. I grabbed her like this and I kissed her. And her husband gave me a Heineken. I think either to let his wife go or to carry on with his wife, one of the two. You want to get rid of her or I must get rid of her, But that's the truth. I mean, she was very nice, and I'd like to have her side of the story because she had the Canadian flag. And she said, because I'm sitting next to you, I'm putting it under my chair. And I'm going to be South African for this race. So it was quite nice.
And you became one of the candidates for the BBC Personality of the Year.
I ran second to Usain Bolt. I just want to say this on air. The Brits go GB, because they are the best. They are the best supporters. They are gentlemen, and the street there, it's unbelievable. I've been around the world. I never see people like this in my life. What's happened here? And mainly the Brits. It's unbelievable. It really is. And we've been now found welcome. All right, it helps getting the gold medal, you know what I mean? But even so, even the people that talk to you in the streets, they're unbelievable. They're brilliant.
Well, it's
fantastic. I had a woman speak me. She said, please, can you, I want a photograph with you and my baby. I said, but the baby's going to cry. The baby with my big fat face. Shall I give the baby? I give like this, yeah? Wow! I said, I told you he's going to cry. Don't cry. I want the photograph with him. And she took the photograph.
And you go watch every one of his big matches?
99% of them, you know, 99%. Whenever I get a chance, I go, you know.
And how's your blood pressure these days?
Blood pressure, I take tablets. These days, it's tablets for that.
So the blood pressure is high?
It is high, it's high. It wasn't high before this gold medal. This gold medal caused a lot of trouble in my life.
And why did you, as a young kid, turn to stop playing soccer and go for swimming?
Well, that was the only option, you know. And that's another thing I'd like to say. You know, I'd like to say this is something that parents mustn't follow, you know, you mustn't follow your dream. You must try to guide your children. Because you're a cricketer, it doesn't mean to say your son must be a cricketer. You understand? He could be the next chess champion, or volleyball, or whatever. So, you know, I come from a football background, and logically it would be say, oh, please play football, continue.
Were you any good?
Nah, it's all right.
But you know your son reminds me of? Gary Plough. I interviewed him last December, and the determination, the fixation, the drive, the desire to win against all odds. Your son's got those same characteristics as Gary Plough, in my opinion.
In a remarkable bout of scoring, Pearl equalled the course record of 64 and set a new record for the back nine of 29. But what made him proudest of all was he became the oldest winner of the Masters at 42 years, 5 months and 8 days.
Well, I once said to him in 2011, we were driving and I said to him, oh shit, Lochte and Phelps should just retire. He said, don't ever do that again. I want to beat them before they retire. This, I kid you not, I swear to God, it's there in black and white, you know, it's documented. What he said when he was a young boy, he wanted 2012 to win there was the headlines of the Sunday Tribune, to win the gold medal in 2012 in the breaststroke. He doesn't even do breaststroke anymore. That's how, when he was young, he only did breaststroke.
20 years. Couldn't ask to finish on a better note. I've done everything I've ever wanted to do. I'm very happy. One of the biggest things that I've always wanted, or I've always said to myself, is I'll never swim at the age of 30. I want to be done before I hit the age of 30. And you know, one of the biggest things is that, you know, I know if I go 3 more years, then you just go another one. You know, for me, being able to move forward and being able to be back in the pool is something that I'm very excited about. This is something that Bob and I have been looking forward to. You know, being back in Mesa and being racing again is something that I love, and something that I've, you know, the training has been going better than it has been really for a long time. So I'm excited to be back here in Mesa. And I think as a lot of you have heard, there's been a lot of talk about World Championships, and I would like just to touch on it here before we get into everything. You know, it's obviously, you know, very challenging and hard for me to not be able to participate at the World Championships, and you know, I do accept the decision that USA Swimming made back early in the fall. You know, but by no means do I want this to be a distraction from the team. You know, I know how hard it is to qualify for the team, and I know how much hard work goes into the team. And for me, by no way would I ever want to displace a member of that team. You know, hopefully I look forward to rejoining my teammates next summer.
So does that mean you're definitely going to try to go to Rio?
How do I know? That's the first question that's going to happen. Oh, you guys heard it here first. Yeah, like it's a big surprise.
And Phelps is coming back to Rio. Do you think he's making a comeback to try and beat your son?
Yes, I think when you get to a champion like Michael Phelps, I think it takes defeat personally. I think anybody who's that kind of champion takes defeat personally.
I mean, he's won 18 gold medals. Why does he want more?
Well, he got beaten. But don't worry, he'll get beaten again.
And you think your son can come through again?
100%. 100%. 100%.
The Olympics in Rio, the great man Michael Phelps has made a comeback. Can he sustain that challenge?
Yeah, look, I mean, Michael Phelps, 18 gold medals at 4 Olympic Games, going on to his 5th Olympic Games, ranked number 1 in the world. So obviously the favourite going into Rio, but you know, it's helped spark Chad, so to speak, and I think it's going to be a great showdown in Rio.
Can you recall your last words to him before he took to the pool 2012, the Olympic finals against Michael Phelps?
Sure. If you want to beat Michael, this is the time to do it because you may not get another chance. I'm eating my words now.
2016 Rio. How's your preparation going? Who are going to be your main competitors?
You know, there's many ways I'm going to answer that question. After 2012, to be honest with you, I had a bit of a bad patch in terms of training. I got thrown into this kind of life, so to speak, you know, the spotlight, the media, everything that comes along with it. And, you know, at the time I took off 3 months of training, which was the biggest regret of my life, to be honest. You know, I got injured after that because obviously coming back into 60, 70 kilometers, you're going to have injuries. And, you know, it was a long time for me to get back to where I'm supposed to be. So my training suffered a lot in 2013, even beginning of 2014. It was just hard for me to get that motivation factor back. You know, I think it was just almost like I had such a high, and I almost forgot what it was like to train and do the hard graphs. And, you know, obviously having a bit of a shock in terms of racing. You know, my times weren't quite there. Even though I was still winning with respect to my competitors, I wasn't winning on great times. And with Michael being retired, it was almost a bit of relaxed time for me. And, you know, when Michael announced his comeback this year, we always knew that he was coming back, but, you know, he came back at the World Champs in 2015, of course, and he swam faster than I did in all my races. So he's technically number 1 in the world for 4 races, which is quite incredible because he's swam faster than he did. This is as fast as he's ever swum outside of the suit era.
Lane 4, Michael Phelps, your top qualifier. As we told you, an 18-time Olympic gold medalist. And the crowd urging Phelps to the finish as Jack Conger tries to close in. And this will be, ladies and gentlemen, Michael Phelps.
And this could be his 5th Olympic Games.
Yeah. So, you know, it was quite hard for me because obviously at World Champs, getting the silver in the 200 fly, my main race, was a big wake-up call for me.
Leclos is closing on Chen. It's Chen in front. Leclos is flying home. It's Chen in front. Clow can't get there. And it is Chen who wins it. Leclos in second place. And Svitkowski comes home in lane 7 to claim the bronze. It's a gold medal to Hungary.
I wouldn't say that my training wasn't up to scratch. It was this year, but I think maybe previous years it kind of suffered in terms of my endurance. So, you know, it was a bit of a tough year for me this year, obviously with Michael Phelps coming back and swimming faster than I did. And there was a lot of media banter between the both of us. And, you know, he said some things in the media that made me really upset. So there was a bit of a crossfire. I don't know if you saw that, but there was, you know, especially in America and BBC in Great Britain. So I was just trying to get that right, you know, before the Olympics.
Are you confident or reasonably confident that you can compete against him in 2016?
I have no doubt in myself. You know, I never have, I never will. I still stand by what I said many years back. I want to race the best. I'm very happy that he's back, that Michael Phelps is swimming very fast, because like I said before London, I hope that he's in good form, and I mean that because I want to beat him at his best. I don't want there to be no excuses from his side or my side when I do beat him, and I want South Africa to celebrate
wonderful, wonderful.
these victories like it's the best.
During the past few years, you've had some beautiful sayings, expressions in the media, and I think if there's any young aspiring swimmer in the country, they should listen to what you've said. Let me quote four of them. Never give up. Set yourself goals and have a vision. Never give up your dream. Always believe in yourself.
I think that's probably the most important thing, you know. You have to just never quit. Have to believe in yourself, you know, especially when others don't. Sometimes, you know, you're chasing a dream that maybe no one else sees but you know, and you have to always stick by it. There's going to be a lot of doubters along the way. You know, I've had a lot of doubters over the years. I still have a lot of doubters. And, you know, if you can truly believe and you can truly do things, you know, the ultimate dream, if you can prepare yourself in ways that other people aren't, you know, if you can, in other words, if you can be the best you can be, you know, if you lose, you lose. But if you can't ever get beaten, if you never give up, if you keep coming back, you know, no one's going to beat me.
Just going through your career, you've won 10 World Championships, including the Olympics. 5 All-Africa Games in Maputo in 2011. 4 gold medals at the Commonwealth Games, and then 2010 you won the Olympic Youth Games. Now, I'm not a swimming connoisseur, but I think I would be pretty correct in saying that you must be surely the greatest swimmer this country has produced. And I'll throw in Penny Haynes in that league too, because she won 2 gold medals in 1996.
In front though, it's Haynes. Haynes will come down and touch first. He wins from Beard. Kovacs gets third. Wiley got fourth. Penny Haynes.
And Chad, and despite all your success, you have always remained humble. Your feet have always been on the ground, and you have never ever got carried away with your success. You are a very great South African. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
The next Olympics.
Thank you very much. Just to end off, I'd just like to say a huge thank you to everyone in South Africa who supported me. I promise you I'll make you guys proud next year at the Olympic Games. Thank you very much.